when every day is a matter of survival, I don't think you can help but be involved. An artist's duty, as far as I'm concerned, is to reflect the times. We will shape and mold this country, or it will not be molded and shaped at all anymore.
There we go. Okay, here we go. Hello, everybody. Let's see. Everybody, all the sound is good. We can hear me. Desktop, good to go. Welcome to The Beat. Ripple presents The Beat. We have our very first guest, environmental journalist Stevie Wyatt. It's funny because I've seen a lot of people in the journalism field, not speaking about you for a second, but kind of speaking about you, and they're like, I always watch them and I'm like, how do you just get access to somebody? Like, how do you find, I'm always curious how people find other people. And the fact that we were just Facebook friends because we lived in the same area and I had posted some things about a movie and you were like, yeah, let's do it. And then it turns out you're this whole person. That it reminds me that, hey, the things that, check out the segue, guys. It reminds me that the things that the national government is affecting affects people that you know. Like, it affects every single person. And
like a ripple effect.
Like a ripple effect. How about that? So yeah, I was just so happy that you were willing to join us and talk to us about all the things that you've been encountering. Welcome to the show. We also, for the audience, I already spoke with Stevie. We have a plot layout for a short film, but we want to fill in the details, fill in a little bit about the reality, and also just talk about what's going on. So that's what this version of The Beat is intended for. So that said, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. I'm really excited to get this going. Apologies for the sound in the background.
That's okay. It's okay.
Subside soon.
That's all right. We all have animals, though, and Amiee has a repairman coming, so she may have to step out for a second.
Dealing with the balance of life.
It's reality. It's reality.
It's reality. And relatable. We all can relate, right? And
that's all that matters. Stevie, do you mind telling us a little background about yourself, how you got involved with environmental journalism? And
Oh, man. Yeah, so I've always been in love with nature. I grew up on a ranch of 500 acres that didn't belong to us. We were sharecroppers in the modern age, which is crazy. My dad worked for this man. We took care of all the animals, and in return, we had a place to live, and we had food to eat. And I did that until I left at 16, but I was always in love with going out into the acreage and hanging out. But I didn't really know much about, like, national parks or, like, how that worked. I knew they existed. I always wanted to see the Grand Canyon, but I never really knew anything about it. And so when I graduated high school, I kind of did some soul searching and went on this big excursion and went to all these different national parks by myself and fell in love. And so what started as just being a, promoter of go out into wild and go experience these things, I soon learned that they're not as protected as being told. They haven't been protected as well as people are claiming they are. And even more so recently, we are seeing what could be the end of national parks in our generation. And while I watched all that happen, I was also in an in-between of like, do I want to go to school for wildlife biology? Do I want to continue to be a musician? Do I want to settle down and have children? And watching all this happen and just having this anger and this frustration knowing that I couldn't do anything, and then realizing, wait, I could do something, kind of spearheaded that. And so I started Rooted in Conservation, and it took off, and we've just been hitting the ground running from there. And yeah, and that's where we're at.
So, that's incredible, by the way. You have a friend, and he's been public about it, but so I wanted you to tell us a little bit more about the perspective from the from the resistance movement. But you have a friend that was invited to the inauguration, right, by Elon.
So yes, there is a gentleman in our group. I'm going to be a little bit careful saying exact names and things just to protect privacy. But there was a gentleman, part of our group, that did go and get to, I say get to meet, he really didn't get to meet Elon. From what he told us, he was invited to the speech, and he was there, and he was sitting probably 3 seats away from Elon and about 10 from Melania, if my memory serves correct. Once everything was done, he got up and promptly walked over to Elon, and was able to get some words in, but he was very much dismissed. And again, this is all according to him. This is all hearsay, but Elon pretty much dismissed him. He said, like, does my job not matter? Like, does my livelihood not matter? And Elon said, who are you? And he explained who he was. He explained what he did for, national parks and for things of that nature. And Elon pretty much just said, like, no, he's not important. And I think my favorite thing about that story, and I'll have to find his handle so y'all can go watch the video yourself, but one of the things he said, he's like, I love America. And I think that that's something that a lot of the hate comments that we get in Rooted in Conservation say that we hate America. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Like, we love America. That's why we're fighting so hard, is because, like, we want to love this country. Well, we want to be here. There are so many beautiful things about this country, but we're being portrayed as, like, hating our country because we want to protect our parks. And so I think that's part of, like, Elon talking to him is, like, he gets this idea that we hate our country, and that's so far from the truth.
It's one of the strangest things because, like, it's parks. It's not.
It's federal parks. They're government
political.
parks.
It's nothing. I don't understand. I mean, you are standing up, sure, and I guess obviously the MAGA movement is all about loyalty and all about non-resistance, but, like, you're literally just. Not only do you want your jobs, but you're literally just, you want nature to exist. So, like, how is that? I don't understand the rationale. It is just a loyalty test. That's all it is. If you don't fall in line, then you're perceived as the enemy.
Well, and it's really interesting too. It's really interesting too because, a lot of comments get thrown at us that, like, oh, it's like the liberal agenda. And something that I talk about a lot is, like, it's not a political agenda. Like, this is that we have people we have a I say secret group, like it's this, like, fun little, but we have a group of people that prefer not to be talked, like, their names out there. But I mean, there's so many people in this group, and they range from being Republican to being Democrat to being Libertarian to being anything in between. We have so many Republicans in that group that are like, hey, like, I am a Republican, die-hard Republican. I don't agree with MAGA. I don't agree that these parks need to fall apart like they are. And it's kind of beautiful to see in a really screwed up way, because, like, there is this, like, coming together of all parties that we haven't really seen in a long time. over protecting national monuments and protecting spaces that were meant to be preserved and protected in our country. And so that, I think that's pretty fascinating too, because a lot of the MAGA people that are, you know, pushing this agenda and pushing this idea that we're anti-American aren't realizing that the call's coming from in the House. Like, there's people in their area that are like, oh, wait, I don't agree with that either. So
That's, yeah, go ahead, Emma.
No, sorry. It boils my. I grew up in Alaska most of my childhood life, so I grew up in nature, love nature as well. It is such a beautiful thing to be able to go to a national park, not just one, but several options in this beautiful country that we could get into a lot of history, accurate history about what we want, what we can. But the point is just that that's not un-American, and how dare anyone try to say that that is not American, when it's really that they are not American, trying to grab this land and do what they want to do with it. Because at the end of the day, that's what they want. They see it as
from
a
Africa. He's from South Africa.
Exactly. No, and it's just a hypocrisy upon the hypocrisy upon the hypocrisy, and it's exactly what Cameron's saying with the loyalty thing. It's a cult thing. It's a fascist thing. I'm just gonna say it. It's not acceptable, and I'm just very grateful for you all for actually standing up and saying that. The fact that your colleague was able to even say that to you, Elon, amazing.
Agreed.
And rightfully so, and I'm so glad we got that chance to at least do that. Because and there are so many people who will fight this because we want our parks, we want to preserve this land. It's just the right ethical thing to do, on top of the fact that there are millions of Americans who want them. So I know it's a hard time right now. Thank you.
What is the rationale coming from the MAGA move? Or I mean, I guess coming from. I mean, it's not necessarily MAGA because this has been a thing for a while. It's always encroaching on the parks, but it seems like it's stepped up. But like, what is it? Just logging? Do they just want to like? Why are they so mad at the parks?
So it's not that they're mad at the park. So there's multiple things that are being pushed. So social media is 1,000% the enemy in this situation too. So what's going on is not all of the information is being either displayed at all or accurately displayed. For instance, they originally said that only 100 to 200 national park employees were terminated. That number is about 2,700, but now they're saying it's only 1,000, but we know that it was 2,700 because we've gotten a hold of 2,700 people. So there's a lot of misconceptions and fake. I hate saying fake news. I hate it, but it's accurate. Like they're saying that, oh, we're only going to be doing little logging. That's not factual. He even said one of the things that we're using to kind of advocate is there's a clip of Trump saying, and I quote, "Drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill, baby, drill." He point blank said what he was going to do. He has not sugarcoated it. He has not beat around the bush. He has said exactly what he is going to do. He has terminated many employees in the places that he wants to drill. And one of the things that is being said that is inaccurate is that national parks are a waste of money and that the taxpayer dollars are going to pay for employees that don't do anything. And that's why they were terminated. They said that the only people that were terminated were people on probation, which is like kind of like you just got the job, you're there for a certain amount of time. But what they failed to also mention is any time you're a seasonal worker or a regular worker who switches over to a different park, you have to go through that probation period, even if you've been there for 20 years. And so there were people fired that have been loyal to national parks for decades. But just because they ended up going to a different national park for that season, they were terminated. The other thing, and I want to pull up, I have the exact numbers.
Oh, we got numbers.
They talked about how the parks don't make money, which, one, the parks are not built to make money. That is not the intention of these parks. We are not a business. It is a park. It is a place to preserve history. It shouldn't even have to make money. I don't have my thing up, so I'll have to guess.
It reminds me of the argument that, well, the government, Washington needs to be run like a business. It's like, but they're services. It's not a business. Like it's not intended to be a business.
It should never be a business. But one of the things that they didn't mention is this past year in 2024 had the highest amount of visitors ever recorded at national parks.
Huh.
Additionally, and these numbers, I have to check my sources, but from what I remember, we only get, for national parks, we only get about I want to say it was like 1.8 billion, I want to say that was the right number, in like assistance for these parks, right? Last year, they made almost triple that. And again, they shouldn't even have to make money to be able to justify existing, but they do. I mean, the local communities thrive because of these national parks, because people travel from all over the world to come to these national parks. They pay good money to come to these national parks and buy things around the national park. So, like, they are a profitable, sadly, but profitable thing. And so I don't know why the government thinks that these are a waste of taxpayer dollars when they make more money than a lot of the things that we fund. So
I'm just trying to figure out what their rationale is. Like, what is it? Just money. Industry? Yeah, they just want industry to come in and
yeah. The majority of MAGA people that have reached out and have communicated have mentioned how their hard-earned dollars are going to national park employees that don't do anything. And again, that taxpayer dollars barely even scrape the national parks. And those national park, like those park rangers, those forest rangers, like, they do so much for so little. They make no money. I mean, they understand that. They go into this knowing that they're never going to be rich. They don't want that. They want to take care of the parks. That's what they care about. They make about as much, if not less, than a school teacher to risk their lives on a daily basis and help people who are not taking care of the park, people who are falling and hurting themselves because they're not paying attention, things like that, like every day.
I mean, do they not understand that if you go hiking, you need to have people out there that might be searching for you if you get lost or hurt, God forbid, like, it's like, this should be common sense, but it's not. It's not.
That's actually a natural segue. That's a natural segue into our what our film is about, is what happens if the park employees aren't there. Like, obviously people can still walk around on the land or whatever, but like what happens? So tell me a little bit, give an overview of a day in the life of a park employee. I mean, I know that's there's a lot of different jobs there, but
right. Well, so, and this is all from because I did speak to a bunch of them to kind of get an idea. And so for just your average park employee, like, we're not even going to give them an exact title. We're just going to give them the bare bones park employee, right? They're going to get up at the crack of dawn, and they're going to get there. They're going to sign in. They're going to do their thing. They're going to go do stupid, mundane tasks that sound stupid, but if you don't have anybody there to do them, it gets disgusting. They go and take out the trashes in the entire park. They go and clean the toilets out in the entire park. They make sure that everything is clean and ready for people to show up, for the environment, for everything. There are a lot of these park employees that, in their job description, their job is go clean the trash, man the front, the entrance, and just answer any questions people have. But those same people have also told me that during emergencies, they've had to leave their station and their work description to go save somebody because there's a bear somewhere, because they got too close to something they weren't supposed to. And so even though it's not in their job description, they go out and do that anyway. And that happens a lot. Like, most park employees have to do stuff like that, no matter what your position is.
That's crazy.
So, yeah.
Real quick, I just wanted to
Just writing
say
the
real quick about
notes.
the numbers. I looked up while we were talking. The national parks, this is from the U.S. Department of the Interior, and it says national parks contributed record high $55.6 billion to the U.S. economy and supported 415,000 jobs in 2023 alone. So
Yep.
it's bringing money in for our country. It's bringing jobs that actually do matter. And even if you don't agree with it, doesn't mean it doesn't matter. It actually
Exactly.
does matter. And we don't need Musk telling us otherwise.
I don't know if that man has ever gone on a hike. Like, has that man ever hiked?
Probably not.
Like, put that, and that's,
Smell air.
I would love, because I've studied to be an interpreter, so someone who hikes and, like, teaches people about the stuff. I'm a master naturalist as well, and so I would love nothing more. I would do it for free, to take Trump and Elon on a guided hike
Oh, you couldn't pay me
through
to do it.
Yellowstone, Grand Canyon. I don't care. I will, for free, and show them what they're trying to destroy.
It's
You know?
terrible
Safety
because, like,
resorts, safety.
there's
That's
so
the problem.
few things in the country that we can hold on to as, like, a national pride and, like, a national identity, and the parks is one of them. Like, and
Oh my gosh, yeah.
destroying that is just, it's removing our American identity and our, you know, there's so few of those things left. You know, we used to have manufacturing, that was great. We don't have that anymore. Like,
Well, and also, like, it's not like we aren't already destroying them with other things. I mean, we don't take care of our planet. We don't take care of our environment. They're already at risk. I mean, these wildfires that are happening as a result are already destroying them. We don't need to add more to that. Like, it's already destroyed. Like, it's happening. This is expediting that process, which I don't think. And of course they don't think this, right? They fired a bunch of scientists over transgender mice, right? So they don't understand what this affects them. If you cut those trees down, good luck breathing. Like, do you think that the environment's going to be like, oh, well, you're MAGA, so you can breathe? Like, that's not how that works. You're going to be affected. Your children that you fight so hard to reproduce are going to be affected. Like, oh, it's so frustrating.
I wonder. Go ahead, Amiee.
No, sorry, I never just jumped in, and then didn't mean to be rude. I just real quick, we just heard here in Los Angeles that we aren't going to be adding any more trees to any of the parks or anywhere because the federal budget has been cut for that. So we aren't even getting more trees for our own oxygen, for the planet, for ourselves, for just cooling down on really hot days because our weather has been so extreme. I mean, this is basic science that I guess at some point it's like, well, when do we just stop taking this shit? Like, and I'm not saying revolt and like big revolution. I'm just saying like.
Oh, I do.
I mean, well, let's be honest. Yes, okay, to a degree. Because how much do you take abuse? You know, like this is abuse to the American people. I believe in the future this should be a civil law action suit for everybody because we're all affected by it. We've been harassed by these individuals, and we never consented to this. So it's just like, how long do we deal with it this way? And what also organizations are out there that are fighting it or help what we can help with? You know, there's got to be some coalitions, got to be some, especially Sierra Club. I mean, all these.
Oh, no. Sierra Club's great. I love them. Adore them. I have no disrespect with them. Grassroots are, so there are two organizations that I help with. Resistance Rangers. So Resistance Rangers are a group of rangers who are remaining entirely anonymous, but there's about 700 of them. And they are under the covers, behind the scenes, doing a lot of work. I don't know if y'all knew about the National Park protest that happened, like, I want to say it was like 2 weeks ago, roundabout. Every single national park had a major protest. Of course, they didn't post it on the news.
I haven't heard anything about it.
Damn it, I would love to know that.
Resistance Rangers put that together, and every single national park had people protesting, including, and this is my favorite story, maniacal laugh, but they were protesting when J.D. Vance was skiing And they booed
Oh!
Okay, I didn't
him
hear about
out.
that. Did not know it was connected though. Yes. Okay,
They
good.
booed him out.
Sweet.
Wow.
Yeah. They're planning another one. I don't have a definitive date on that, and I'm not going, because we're live, I'm not going to say the date that they have, because
Sure.
there is potential of a government shutdown, and they don't
Right.
want to do the protest during the government shutdown because there will be nobody there to protect the parks.
Mhm.
And if somebody gets hurt during those protests, like, it's not good. So
Right.
they have a date in mind. As soon as we know for sure, that will be public. Resistance Rangers is one, and then Parks Over Profit is another one. They actually just rebranded their name because they originally were a offshoot of another coalition that kind of has not been very verbal in the last, like, since the election, really. They've always been verbal, and then the election happened, and now they're not talking. So they kind of did their own thing. They're called Parks Over Profit, and they work alongside Resistance Rangers, kind of getting all this going. But they're also doing more like, we're going to call your representatives. We're going to send postcards of every national park to Donald Trump on March 15th.
Oh.
That one is confirmed. So March 15th, every single national park postcard is being mailed to the White House.
So long as he doesn't get rid of USPS by then.
Honestly. Oh my gosh. Honestly.
He's got
Send a
he's got
pigeon.
3 days.
Send pigeons, okay?
Yeah, send
We go
carrier
old
pigeons.
school, no matter what. Have a backup.
But no, there are people doing insanely amazing things right now that it's not getting any kind of media coverage, of course, because they're scared. They're scared of these people because it's showing. People are starting to catch on, like, wait, this is, why did you fire people in NOAA? What did they do? Those are the people that tell us when a tornado is about to hit our house. Why did you fire them? And people are starting to catch on to that, and that scares them.
I have an idea. The things you've been mentioning. Oh, let me back up for a second. Okay, 2 things. One, it's fascinating that the protest over Vance's ski trip evolved out of that national protest movement, and that the media didn't go in and be like, okay, well, where did these protesters come from, and like expand upon this whole thing happening, because that's, as a journalist, that's a juicy story. That's fascinating, but it's just like, the way they portrayed it is, Vance showed up, and then suddenly there were protesters, and they yelled at him, and that was it.
So there are a couple of articles that are about to come out, a little late in my opinion, but at least they're coming out. I actually just spoke to a lady doing a Rolling Stone interview.
Oh, okay.
And so there is going to be a Rolling Stone article coming out here soon. She got wrapped up with it yesterday. And I was able to get her connected with 6 of the Rangers that were willing to participate. Because some of them, so also, this is important to note that a lot of the reason why some of these Rangers are remaining anonymous is because when you sign up as a park ranger, you have to swear in. It's almost military style, where you can have a political opinion online, but you can never connect the two. You cannot be in uniform. You cannot say, like, if you post your political opinions online, you have to say, my opinions are mine alone, and they do not reflect the National Park Service whatsoever. But now they're getting terminated from their national park job. They're trying to get their job back, but they have to be real careful, because if they speak out really loudly, they may not get their job back when the jobs come back, if the jobs come back. Additionally, there is talks right now, because the agricultural side of things, they actually just rehired everybody for a 45-day period because it was said that this was unconstitutional. So there's a very big chance that the national park employees are going to get their jobs back for 45 days as well. So they're being very careful. Some of them are just tired of it. Like, they're done, they're over it, but majority of them are being very cautious. And I think that sucks.
You have to. Like, these people have been working for decades, some of them, in the park system. So 45 days, it's like, That's
Well, and then
nothing.
they don't know what happens after that. Like, do they lose their job again? Like, most of these people are making no money, so it's like they couldn't survive another layoff. Like, they can't, or termination. Also, I want to add, I don't know if y'all are aware of what the email said that was sent to these people when they were terminated. It was not, the email should have said, we're terminating you because we need to trim the fat. But instead, the emails that every one of them sent said that their work satisfaction was not, it was unsatisfactory. Essentially blaming them for being fired,
You
saying
weren't
that
doing your job.
they didn't work hard enough.
Yeah, I saw that
Because they know what that
they sent that all across all the places they were firing, because it's like, are they looking at reports? Are they looking at reviews of these employees?
No.
Obviously that's a rhetorical question, because like, no, they're not. They're just firing people.
Do you know about the weekly email that they're having to fill out?
Yeah, like
naming 5 things that they did that week.
What was it? The CIA or someone? There was a few departments that were like, you literally, it's illegal for you to answer those questions.
Yeah. No, all of the, like, when that happened, our group chat blew up, and they were like, do not respond to that email. Do not respond to that email. You do not have to, like, at all. It's ridiculous. And the fact that, that came from Elon. Like, that's not, no one elected this man. I did not ask for that. I mean, I didn't ask for Trump, but, like, I did not ask for Elon. But I did get a couple of responses. I think there's one person, I don't know exactly who they are, but she did fill out, like, the anonymous questionnaire.
Yeah, that's actually, we're half an hour into it, so that I wanted to bring that up. We sent out to Stevie a little questionnaire that would help us further research into, and I think it was 5 questions, 4 or 5 questions. We sent it out, and you were so kind to put it into an anonymous group. What did we get? What were some of our answers?
So there's one person in particular that was very, very vocal, so I kind of want to, like, hyper fixate on them real quick, because they were very thorough.
I love that.
Again, this is anonymous. I don't know who they are. I don't know what park they represent unless they vocalize that. But the first question was, outside of being fired, what's the most egregious offense and or tactic you've seen? To which they responded, I still work for the National Park Service, and I think that what is absolutely disgusting is the multitude of people who claim to care so much about our parks and were so proud of me getting a job at the National Park and then be blatant and utterly silent. Sure, I've gotten a few texts a couple days after Valentine's Day when everyone was terminated, but when it's happening in real time and I'm actively posting about it, there's radio silence, and it's disgusting. Second was, what's a short story or anecdote you have that shows how important the parks are to us on a cultural or personal level? To which they responded, I work for the Park Service. I've been boots on the ground basically since I was 20 years old. I remember being the little intern watching people be park rangers and being inspired by them, knowing I might not ever achieve that dream. I got my first permanent job recently at 23, which is unheard of. Most people have to work for years to be in my position. I'm so proud of that and the work I want and will continue to do. I just know others are not as lucky. Some of my friends lost their jobs and their livelihoods. If anything, I feel like it should have been me.
So this person is young. They're like Gen Z.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Next is, what is it about the spirit of the parks employees that have been rallied them to fight back when so many other government entities are not? To which this person responded, we honestly don't get paid enough to do what we do. I've responded to medical and wildlife emergencies, which is not in my job description. I've learned about different cultures. I've worked out in the blazing heat in Mississippi sun for hours on end, but I do it because I love it. I get to talk about history, which is a big passion of mine, and seeing the little girls enjoy weird things while also tapping into their feminist side makes me so proud to see. This is why I fight back, personally, because I want the little girls to know that they can do this too.
Oh, what a great response.
Yes. Next one is, what are you being told the reasoning is behind the cutbacks and dismantling of parks? To which they responded, poor performance. I am not the one who was fired, and my park management is on our side, luckily. They know it's bullshit. I don't know how true it is for other parks, and I fear that some senior staff members are buying into this crap.
That's
and then
frightening.
it is. It's very. And then the last was, what was the worst case scenario for you or for future visitors of the parks? And her response is amazing. She said, for me, it's having to figure out what to do next. Do we flee? Do we stay? Can I come back if I'm let go? What happens next? Normally, I can answer the last question, but this time I can't. For future visitors, they won't know what happened at Valley Forge or why we preserve it. They will know the local legends and myths, but that's it. They will know where a 250-plus-year-old house once stood, and I fear that they will never know that General George Washington did not spend 6 months with a starving army to see our history erased.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, props to whoever that is. That's great responses. Jeez Louise.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It actually helps inform the characters for this film. Basically, I'll give an overview of the idea of the film that we came up with. It's okay. Worst case scenario: there's no more park employees. So that means, but this family, maybe the dad or the mom, whoever is a photographer, bringing their child to the park because they want to get some pretty pictures, and it's nice. But there's no park employees, so there's trash everywhere. And I'm not sure exactly. Maybe it's just a trash can they walk by that it's gross. But either way, they get to the park. They have a nice. And actually, I was thinking, one of my clients' friends, or no, clients' husbands, super liberal guy. He, unfortunately, he ordered a Cybertruck long before Elon went crazy because his 13-year-old kid thought it was cool. So he ordered it, and now, of course, I've ridden in it with him, and every single time people are honking at him, flipping him off, yelling at him. He even has a bumper sticker that says, I got this before Elon was crazy. Now, Elon's always been crazy, but still. But what sucks about it is he has all these medical issues that, I don't know if you know this, the Cybertruck and maybe other Teslas, the way that there's only one pedal. The pedal is the brake and the gas, and he has a medical condition called foot drop, so that he can't really move his foot around all that much, so it has to be one pedal. So he's like, listen, I don't want the Cybertruck anymore, but this is the only car I can drive safely, because apparently, I guess it's either you pump it and you get gas, or you pump it and that's when the braking happens, or in you left. Maybe whenever you let off, that's when it starts to brake. I'm not sure. But it's only one pedal. And he says it takes some getting used to, but, whatever. But yeah, his son, however, is an actor, and he's 17 now. And he's on the football team, but he wears glasses, and he looks a little dorky because he's a student. He's a student of history, and he's a really sweet kid. But also very liberal, which is nice to see in the youths. So I was thinking, if I was thinking about cast, it would be kind of cool, and it kind of contradicts what your survey respondent said, and I really like that angle too, but for now, I was thinking I could cast this kid. Maybe the story isn't so much about, the focus, at least at the beginning, isn't about what's being done to the parks. The setting is the parks have been taken over. It's just everybody's fired. Worst case scenario. This kid, maybe the story is about him falling in love with the park, even though it's in a terrible state, but you get what you can get. He's maybe he's like a jaded teenager, just trying to be on his phone. The phone doesn't work, obviously, in the middle of nowhere, but he's just not into it. And then the story is him bonding with his parent, whoever that is, over how beautiful the park actually is. but then we realize, oh, but the problem is there's no one to maintain these parks. And then as you were talking, you were saying things like, without the trees, then you can't breathe. So maybe once they get at higher levels, or maybe they go into an area that's a little lower or something, they actually have to wear masks, because you can see like a logging or like some sort of industry in the park a little further away, and it's like polluting the area. Go ahead, Stevie. I can see you.
Yeah, can I bounce something off of that too?
Please. That's what this whole thing is.
So one of the interesting things is a lot of the people that go to these parks are MAGA to go on vacation. And I think it would be interesting if you have the family go, have the dad portrayed as this very MAGA, have him wearing the red hat, and have, when they go to put the masks on, one of the big things is MAGA is very, very anti-mask for everything.
Obviously.
They're trying to ban them in colleges for everything, protest, sickness, whatever. And so it'd be interesting to have it where the dad is like this very like, I don't care. Like the son, you start to see this sympathy, this empathy this kid is feeling. But the dad is very like, red hat, you're very stereotyped MAGA, like I'm not putting that mask on, like drill baby drill type person. And kind of build into that story where you're watching this kid realize what's going on and watching this dad fall into despair because of his own actions, his own actions. So
yeah, I like that angle. One especially if it's almost, they are forced to mask. Maybe it's a MAGA mask or something. But because like there's the logging or some sort of industry has infiltrated the park, so when they get to this certain area, like you just can't climb a hill because you can't breathe, so you have to. So he's like, okay, we can mask for this part, but it's not for anything else. Obviously, there's particles, there's ash in the air, so that's
right.
I like that idea, and I also like the idea that the sympathy's coming from the kid as well. That's really, really sweet.
Because it shows the future, because we see that right now. A lot of younger generation that cannot vote right now are seeing this happen. I work for a after-school program for kids, and a lot of the teenagers are very aware of what is going on. Like, I almost feel really bad at the fact that they know this, because I know that is traumatic. I know that is so hard to be a kid and witness that. But they also are a lot more in tune with what's going on than a lot of adults are right now. And they want to help, but they can't do a whole lot. So
maybe
I have big hopes for our future generation.
Maybe MAGA Dad, the reason he's going to the park is to get a nice view of the factory that he works at. Like, that's the whole reason he's like, well, you should be so proud of what we're doing, blah, 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 blah. So he, like, goes up on this hill because he knows there's going to be a nice angle of it. Meanwhile, the kid is like, this place is phenomenal. Like, there's this animal used to be alive. Or, whatever.
Or you could have the dad be the guy that's in charge of the logging in general, and he's going up there to let his kids... And have it where he talks about how his dad used to take him on these hikes in the same place, but also like, this is my job. Like, I wanted you to take you to work and all of that, and kind of have that duality too of like, when I was a kid, I got to witness this beauty, and now you're witnessing this beauty, but not actually witnessing.
That's beautiful. I'm gonna write that down. Surveying the land. That's not how you spell surveying. Surveying the land or industry. That's also nice because then I don't have to try and superimpose some giant scary factory in the park. It can just be looking at the trees like, oh yeah, this would be a great one too.
And you're located in Denton, right?
Yeah.
So if you go to Clear Creek,
Yeah, I love Creek.
they have not been able to clean up after the giant storm that happened last year. So if you
Yeah.
go into the park, there's a bunch of trees that are fallen and destroyed all over the place. So you can use that to film this idea of everything
Yeah.
falling apart. Additionally, there's an invasive bug called the ash borer that is destroying the ash trees out there and making them, it's really tragic, but you're watching them, like their bark is coming off and it's leaving this like zigzaggy, like bare bone tree that's falling over all over the park, which kind of fits this, even though it's the ash borer and not.
Yeah,
but
it's creepy looking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be great. I wanted to use that. I wanted to use Cleburne State Park just because they have some elevation there, and there's also a pretty like dam and river area. Or it's not a dam; it's just like some big water thing. But that's really pretty. And also, yeah, there's like more hills there that you can climb, and so. But I love that idea.
I'll also be living 30 minutes from Great Smoky National Park.
Oh.
So if you need any footage, I will be up there. So
Yeah,
I can give any kind of footage of just like transitional or whatever of that stuff.
Yeah, for sure, just to make it feel like it's in there. Yeah, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. Or did we get any more respondents or anything?
So we have a couple of other people. Someone said they're a little bit shorter. So like this person said, what short story or anecdote you have that shows how important the parks are to us on a cultural, personal level? One person said the accessibility of climbing and the memories I've made through the conduit, that conduit. And then the other person said parks have the opportunity to create a truly equal space for everyone. The next one is, what is it about the spirit of the parks employees that has rallied them to fight back?
Right.
One person said the connection we have with these lands and the low pay, we have nothing else to lose.
That's
and
fascinating.
And then one person said, parks are about more than an institution. They are positioned on sacred ground for the benefit of all and the preservation of both the land and the culture it represents. When it said, what are you being told is the reason behind the cutbacks and dismantling, someone said fraud. The other person said wasteful spending and privatization. And then the worst case scenario, someone said privatization, the icon-style park pass that is now a punch card or $900. And then somebody else said, the land becomes irreparable damage by trash and vandalism. The impacts of clear cutting takes decades to handle, and the land may no longer be accessible due to its sale to private entities. So.
Yeah, I mean, there could even be I don't know how I would logistically set this up, but there could even be a scene where they're on a path, but the path suddenly, like, it's private land, so it's like, oh, well, we got to go around this part because, like, someone owns that, so we can't get through there.
Have you been to Goatman's Bridge in Benton?
Oh, yeah.
So if you walk through the first part of that, you see a bunch of trees that have been vandalized. There's a lot of spray paint on them. It's really gross. It's sad. It's something that I've been actively trying to get people to go out and do a cleanup. But as it stands, it looks very dystopian, very vandalized. So that might be an option for filming too, as they're walking. And there's like barbed wire fencing around that area too, so it kind of gives off that like privatized, like vandalized space. So
that's kind of the thing that's so sad for me. It's like once it's like, I mean, it is history, but it's like you destroying a beautiful historic building. Once it's gone, it's gone. Like there's nothing you can do about it. It's just gone, and you're never getting it back.
It affects the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Like, that's another thing. It's not just us. This is a ripple effect that it causes damage to other living creatures that we are fucking up and have been fucking up for decades.
Yes.
And it's unacceptable, period.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, I'm mind-boggled about it because it is unethical to the core, period.
Well, and like the biodiversity, like there's so many things in these national parks that are protected by law. like plants and animals that are protected by law because there are not very many of them or they die very quickly. That's the last remaining of what we have, and we're holding on to it for dear life. And Trump is actively, in this moment, in the last 2 weeks, trying to find a way to bypass those regulations and those rules to drill and to cut trees. And it's like there are certain owls, there's certain bugs, salamander. I mean, you name it out there that our children will never know anything about those animals because they won't exist anymore as a result. But tell me how we need paper. Tell me how we need more boxes, more Amazon.
Also, like, you said earlier, they're saying there's fraud, and you have to cut that out to make sure that you're not using the money wrongly. Blah blah blah. Okay, show us the proof then. Show us the evidence, but they won't because there is none, and they keep going around the circle about it, and it just blows my mind. Like, we all want the honesty, no matter what side you're on, whatever party. Like, take away the labels as human beings, as tax citizens, paying citizens. Excuse me. Like, show us, as they said in the movie, show us the money, right? Like, show us where the fucking money's going then. We want to know if that's true, if it's true. But we know it's not true because you can't fucking show it.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is like, I'll admit, there might be corruption within the National Park Service. It is a government entity. We don't know where that money is going. They could be very right about that situation. You could be very right that money is not going where it's supposed to be going. But that doesn't mean that those parks aren't important. That means that you need to fix your National Park Service so that these parks are protected and your money is being handled correctly. That's not our fault. That's not the National Park employees' fault. That's your fault still. That is the government's fault for not taking a handle on that in the first place. Like, that's your problem.
Is in the initial wave of them doing this, like within a week, whenever they were like with USAID, they were like, "Oh, we're just auditing it." It's like auditing takes a while. You have to run reports and you have to do reviews and you have to do it like it's a process. It's not just cut and burn, slash and burn. But it's funny. I haven't thought about it until just now, but it's kind of funny that I haven't heard them say we're auditing in like a month or so. Like, they stopped using that excuse because I guess
you know what they did do? I don't know if y'all know about this one, but all the credit cards for all of the national parks that they use for gas, for any builds, if a bridge breaks, if something goes wrong,
oh
if
yeah,
a
I saw this.
breaks
Yeah.
down, they turned the credit cards down. They didn't turn them off. They should have just turned them off if they were going to be assholes anyway. No. They made it $1. There is a $1 you can use for the credit card.
Get a soda pop.
Only about 17 people in all of the U.S. national parks have access to those credit cards. 17. And they get $1.
So $17 is what they're worth, they're basically saying with that.
Yeah.
You get, as the whole nation, you get
$17
US dollars on those cards.
Yep. And it's disgusting. Like, when we found out about that, it's like, just turn them off. If you're going to do that, like, why would you even put $1? Like, are you that low of a person, low of a government to do that? And it's like, yes, they are. They are absolutely.
So I'm wondering.
Yeah,
okay,
petty
so
as fuck.
Let's assume there's industry in this film we're creating. Let's assume there's trash and there's people not picking up, and there's some logging. I was thinking okay, so the idea is they're walking around, somehow he gets injured, and he has a radio, but nobody's responding because there's no park rangers to come help. They're just out of range. And so he has to send his kid out into the wilderness to fend for himself and try and go find help. What if the injury is like he accidentally steps on some sort of industrial thing, or maybe steps into a machine accidentally, or something that's been left over, even if it's just like a saw that was like thrown to the side, accidentally steps on it.
Even a nail.
Chainsaw.
Oh, a chainsaw, yeah, because of Elon. Yeah, there you go.
Nice. Nice one, yes.
Yeah, and it's just like it was just thrown to the side, or you know, it was set up on a tree, and he accidentally like runs into it. Yeah, that'd be nice. Especially because it'll hit even harder if the whole piece is kind of this pretty and like maybe not necessarily calm, but you think the story is about connecting with nature, and then suddenly, bam, there's violence and blood and
Right. Well, I think too, it's kind of an interesting thing to have this kid who knows that they're seeing that their dad is this like not good person and doing these horrible things to this national park, and is still going to protect and save him regardless. That's very telling too, because a lot of national park employees, like, they're protecting and saving people that wouldn't do the same for them and aren't doing the same for them, but they're still protecting them. They're still helping them. So I think that's a cool parallel too.
Yeah, I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
Sorry, my brain is. I'm in movie mode now.
Yeah, so is mine. Sorry, I'm trying to like visualize it and just kind of add. I just feel like there's something to like.
You know, it'd be really. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. I was gonna say the other cool thing you could do with this is when this kid's going on this hero's journey, right? He's trying to go find help and he's having a hard time. It would be interesting if anytime he runs into any wildlife danger, it becomes not as dangerous as anticipated. So, like, say he comes across a bear, right? He sees the bear off in the distance. He gets scared. That bear turns and runs, because majority of the time, these bears are not going to hurt you unless you invoke something, right? So anytime he runs into wildlife danger, it ends up being pretty calm and fixed. But he runs into industrial danger, and it's a lot scarier. So if someone's drilling and he runs into that, now he's suddenly in this situation where he's trying to get out of that. And like that's the real danger in this, right? It's not the animals coming after him. It's not the things. Like, he's able to climb a tree to get away from a massive thing coming to run him over, right? And he's using that tree to save himself.
Every time I do these streams and I get like an NBC News alert, I'm like, uh-oh, do we have breaking news? No, this is just, This is just a summary. Thank God.
Sorry, that was my dog.
No, I like that. Maybe it's not on the part of like on his searching for help for his dad, but maybe it literally is maybe it's dad and son, or dad and whomever, or mom and whoever. Probably dad though, because it's MAGA. And they maybe that they see the bear together. The dad is like, hey, it's okay. We'll you know, just. And then he runs off, and then they have like this nice little moment, a bonding moment, but also it's like, look how beautiful nature can be. And then of course he understands that in his own head, and then of course later it's industry that injures him.
Right.
That'd be nice.
I like that.
Because I like the idea. I think it's super powerful if dad's on the ground bleeding out, or at least just bleeding. And then he's just like, all right, kid, see ya. And then he just walks off into the woods and hopes for the best. And then we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen, you know?
Oh, yeah. Kind of open-ended.
We just got to make it feel like they've gone really deep into the woods, because, you know, where it will be tricky for that kid to get back.
Right.
Which is fine.
Maybe even put, like, some branches and stuff on the trail he's heading towards, where you get the idea that it is a broken trail with, like, not a lot of maintenance, and kind of opens that idea of, like, this is going to be almost impossible.
Right. But it's an adventure, so we're having fun.
Well, especially he has no training in survival techniques in the wilderness, which a lot of kids do not.
No,
a lot
of
of
course
people in general do not.
Yeah, because your phone doesn't work. Yeah.
No, God forbid. I mean, when we had the fires here in LA, our phones died too, and we were in the city, and I was sorry.
It's okay.
So the point is, yeah, it's like, how do you do that if you don't have any instinct or any?
Yeah. Maybe even have the kid, like, right, the last scene be him trying to turn his phone on one more time, seeing the no cell service, and looking out, and just like, all right, well.
Yeah. Let's hope. And that's it. You don't know.
Yeah.
So we have we little moments, like they first show up to the park. There's nobody at the gate. Or maybe it's not even that. They just show up and it's a desert town. We have to show up early, but that's okay. They go by a trash can or some sort of thing where maybe somebody's had like a party and there's just muck there and it's gross. That's one little instance. They keep going. Maybe there's the scene at Goatman's where there's the barbed wire and there's the graffiti and all this stuff. That's gross. They get further in. What was it? Clear that the trees, trees have fallen over and they're getting
Clear Creek.
Yeah, Clear Creek. That's deeper in there. That's nice. We just need to come up with several instances of what happens, worst case. Maybe they can just hear. Maybe it goes from a moment of it's peaceful, it's super quiet, you can hear birds chirping, whatever, and then you turn the corner and you can hear industrial, some factory not too far away. You can't see it, but you can hear it, and it's just totally ruining the whole experience.
I like that. The sound of helicopters, I think, is also a really good one. Or like the sounds of jets going overhead.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like that's been happening. It's literally happening right now in my house. More often than not. Oh yeah, the other thing. So the trash can's full. I think a nice little tiny tidbit that would be really interesting to add is some old signs from the protests. So like a sign in the trash can that says like resist. A sign in the trash can that says it has Smokey the Bear or a variation of Smokey the Bear. Just to show that someone tried. Like they were trying really hard.
Well, it also immediately places where we are in reality. Like we're in the future. It didn't work.
Yeah.
Not too far future, probably, but. Oh yeah. Are there estimates of how long it would take before like parks are totally just gone? Like we don't have access to them, or?
No, because everything is happening so fast. I mean, all of the stuff that has happened just in the time that I've been helping with Resistance Rangers, in my head, it was 6 months. Right. In my head, it's been half a year. It has been a month. A little more than a month that all of this has been happening. I went to Tennessee to go visit my mother-in-law. I came back and immediately hit the ground running, and that was only about a month ago. So this is happening very quickly. So there's really not a time frame, because the second that Trump figures out a way to fire all of the MPS employees, like that's it. Like it's done. There's nothing they can do. We can do everything we can, but that's it.
It's been.
Do you think there'll be at least volunteers that will, like the organization that you've been talking about briefly? Just like, if that happens, God forbid, but if that happens, I just feel like there's enough people that would at least would show up and be like, well, fuck it, we're gonna volunteer.
No, absolutely, it's already happening.
We'll be here. Okay, cool.
A lot of the park employees that were terminated are still volunteering.
Damn.
Like they're willing to put their practically non-existent paycheck.
Yeah.
And go do it for free. Yeah. To protect these parks. So, like, it's still actively held. Like, there are multiple volunteers, and not only volunteers in national parks, but there's lower level volunteers. There's something called the Master Naturalist. I can't really. They're another organization that tries to stray away from politics. But they have branches all over the U.S. They started in Texas. I was part of the one here in Denton. They're mostly little old ladies, but they go to these state parks, the national parks, all the parks, they help pull invasive plants, they help pick up trash, they help do all these things quietly, very quietly. So they're pretty great.
Is there, just to get, I mean, I'm just curious, this has nothing to do with our movie, really, but what is the gender ratio for the resistance movement, or the parks people at all?
Mainly female.
You don't say!
Oh,
Mainly,
no way! Big
majority female, and so from what I've seen, I don't have numbers on this, I don't have accuracy on this,
Anecdotal.
but a lot of them are in the LGBTQ plus community as well, which is odd. So do y'all know who Brandon Gill is?
I don't think so.
He's our representative. He's our representative. When I emailed him the first time, that man definitely hates my guts at this point. When I emailed him the first time, I was very, very nice, and I was very respectful, and I was very professional, asking him, like, hey, these national parks are in danger, and we're asking...
31 years old.
So I was asking, well, will you help us? Will you help us speak for Big Bend, speak for Guadalupe Mountains? His email back to me, actually, let me pull it up, because I want to read this verbatim so that you guys know
Let's
exactly what was
Thank
said,
you.
because it is disgusting.
Is he mega?
Absolutely disgusting.
He's 31. He went to Dartmouth. He represents Texas's 26th congressional. I only just moved here like a year ago, so he's our rep since 2025. Born in 1994, guys. Gosh.
Yeah, he's a couple years older than I am. So
You're youngin'.
I am 28.
Oh, shoot. Look at you go. It's in your 20s. That's great.
I'm out here. Which email? I have so many dang emails. Come on, Brandon. I know you're in there. I know you're in there because I literally pulled it up yesterday because it's gross.
Attended Dartmouth, graduated cum laude with economics and history. He was president of the conservative paper, the Dartmouth something or other.
The Dartmouth something.
I don't want to give him any.
Yeah, he's not. Okay, where did you go, Brandon Gill? Because I know.
So just to clarify, you say he's the representative of your county, or what are we specifically saying he's the representative
So I believe he's the representative, and I have to Google it because I reached out to him through the link.
It includes Cook County,
I
Wise
think
County, and parts of Denton County.
His swarmy photo. I see it now.
Actually, I'm going to pull my phone real quick because I know I see what you emailed.
Okay, so it includes several different counties, parts of all the counties. That's so
okay.
Districts, man.
So here's the response that he gave to a conversation or an email sent to him that was only about national parks. It was not about anything else, just national parks. Dear Miss Wyatt, thank you for reaching out to my office. Your thoughts and concerns are invaluable in helping me represent our community and country effectively, and it's been an honor of my lifetime to serve the people.
Nice and copy.
The American people have sent a clear message that Republicans have a mandate to govern. Now, it is up to us in Congress to help President Trump deliver that mandate. We must secure our border, restore American energy dominance, and support American workers. Over the last 4 years under the last administration, we saw our border left wide open and our economy decimated. Every American felt the impact of the prior Democratic administration. As we express these pressing concerns, it is paramount to recognize that Democrats allowed millions of illegal aliens to enter our country, putting a strain on our healthcare and education systems, contributing to the influx of drug and crime, and ultimately depressing American wages. In light of this, Americans are understandably frustrated at seeing their hard-earned tax dollars funneled into inefficient government programs and allocated to non-citizens. To combat this wastefulness, I will work diligently with my colleagues on the DOJ subcommittee in Congress to eliminate unnecessary spending and ensure the taxpayers' money is used more effectively. And at the very end of it, he I want your opinion. Do you agree with Trump's order that prohibits biological men from competing in women's sports? And that was the email. About
So he didn't answer anything.
No, he didn't read
He
it.
didn't
It's
even
just
try.
copy and paste.
He didn't read it. No, exactly. It's his fucking copy paste.
And the big FU at the end asking about biological men. I'm like, what part of national parks does that have anything to do with anything?
Or immigration, or anything.
I also want to add that about a week ago, this is the same man who is trying to rally to have Trump replace a president on a dollar. I don't know exactly what
that was him.
But that was him.
Huh. I think.
Oh wait, you put Trump on a different.
Yeah, I think it was the
dollar
100
instead of somebody else.
Yep.
Oh, of course. Why not just make a gold bar? I love his gold.
Yep.
That's true.
So
So he's a loyalist traitor to America, basically.
correct. Yeah, illegals over the border, and now we can't have national parks because of it. I guess.
Yeah, because that's
his logic.
connected so well. Right?
Like
all those immigrants who are in those national parks,
it's
ruining life for the American people, tax-paying citizens. Again, show us the proof, then.
Right.
We don't fucking have.
It's giving when your parents ground you for smoking a cigarette and they take away your Xbox, which doesn't correlate. But one of my favorite things about all of this is it's everybody in Texas. Texas is especially suffering with their national. We are probably going to lose our national parks before anybody else because we have nobody. There are multiple states that have people rallying for them in Congress, people that I've spoken with in Congress that are trying their hardest. But Texas, no one. No one. No one, no one. It's ridiculous. And the fact that we have to fight for land that isn't even ours. That's the other thing. I've had conversations with people that have commented and they're like, well, this land belongs to Indians. And to which I respond, you're absolutely right. I said, but if we don't protect them now, nobody's going to have them.
Right.
They're not going to exist anymore. You're absolutely right. You're completely valid. Your voice is heard and should be seen. But we wouldn't even be able to rally to do that if they don't exist anymore.
I would like to call attention to the fact that you here representing nature and all this beauty and the resistance fight, and you have all these twinkly little birds out there, like, singing songs. It's just such a perfect little Disney-esque scene.
Yeah, modern Disney princesses are a little different these days.
Hey, I'm not complaining.
And rightfully so. That's right.
Oh man,
That is fascinating about the gender makeup and the LGBT, the spectrum that is there. Huh. I'm not surprised. I have a little Denton Culture show, and for this, we do one episode a month, and this episode is about women's history and everything. The last month was Black history and Black future and culture and everything. And I just this is something I've been wondering about for years, but I was like, oh, why don't I turn it into the top story for this episode is, hey, why is it that women are the ones that are taking care of everything? Like, why aren't the men, where are the men at? That's something, because, like, I've been filming all of the, we have a local city council election. Cosmo, I'm not letting you out. You run away when I let you out. I'm sorry, bud. I could try and keep an eye on him, but I think we'll probably only go for about 15 more minutes. That's normal podcast length. And we got, okay, all the animals are going nuts right now. But in District 3, all the people that are running minus one, there's 4 people. So 75% of the people are women. And it's like, and I notice this whenever I do stories about charities or nonprofits, or I grew up in a horse rescue, and it's like 80-90% women, and they're the ones doing all the grunt work, all of the actual physical hard labor. that, you know, are the typical cowboy jobs. I gotta do something about these dogs real quick.
You're good.
You gonna come in? Alright, don't run away. I'm watching you. Coming in? Anyway, that might be, I don't know how we'll touch on that one day. We're trying to make a bunch of these movies.
I think, too, because I think the big reason that, and this is a personal opinion,
Sure.
based on what I've seen, I think the big reason that there are so many majority women doing the protesting and the fighting is because we have nothing else to lose. We have no reproductive rights. We have no work rights. We have our rights from the bare bones are getting stripped of everything. I mean, there's people that are trying to talk about banning piercings on women, septum piercings. And it's like, we can't have anything. So, like, we have nothing else to lose. So, of course, we're going to fight. We're going to put ourselves out there, because if we don't, no one's going to vouch for us. No one's going to fight for us. There's history books that prove that the only thing that's going to help is when women stand up and put in the work.
History books? What's that?
Something that they're trying to probably get rid of. That's the other thing. Let me pull it up. I have the information because I just put out a post about it.
As you look for that, the one thing that's really cool about the area that Stevie and I live in is there's the Texas School Board of Education has adopted a Christian fundamentalist rubric, and because of course they have. However, Denton, they didn't make a big fuss about it. They just quietly were like, "Guys, we're not adopting that. We're not adopting it. We're sticking to what we have." And they didn't go into like a whole thing about it because that, you know, obviously it would just be a nightmare. But I'm like, oh, thank God that we have some common sense, some still in certain places. Of course, we have 3 colleges here, so one would hope that we value our education.
Well, that's the other thing. I don't know if y'all saw that too, but you know, Trump is trying to make it illegal. Like, protesting on campus could lead to deportation and could lead to jail.
Like, what does that mean?
Illegal protest. So, one of the things that I posted about with that is, one, like, I'm still actively in college. So I was going to school for wildlife biology. All this stuff went down. I switched over to environmental journalism so that I could be more of an advocate. And he's trying to make it illegal. He's trying to make it where if you get caught, you're either deported to the country in which you were born, or if you're an American citizen, you're arrested, or you're kicked out of college. And so that is something very real and happening right now. It happened 2 days ago to a gentleman, and I forget which college it was, but he was deported.
Yeah, the pro-Palestine.
Right. And that's something that, like, I had to have a talk with my husband about. I said, hey, I might get kicked out of college. The work that I've put in, the hard work that I've put in, trying to move forward for a PhD, I may get kicked out. And that's fine. I mean, it's not fine. Obviously, it's not fine. But, like, that's something I'm willing to do. And I am one of very many people that are willing to lose their college careers over this. Because that's ridiculous. And one of the things I said in my post, too, is, okay, so if you're trying to get rid of protesting on campus, then I better not see a pro-lifer. Yeah. And I better not see a MAGA rally on those campuses.
Famously, UNT...
Or Charlie Kirk coming.
Yep. For years...
He was just at Northridge, nearby.
For years, there's a group of Christian fundamentalist people that'll show up at the UNT campus and literally just scream at calling college people just walking around going to class, you slut, you blah 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 blah.
That happened to me at A&M. That happened to me at A&M. I was wearing leggings and got called a whore.
How is that not harassment and discrimination and illegal? It is. So guys
because it's a freedom of speech, which you know what? You know what?
Now it's harming.
If it was truly a freedom of speech, then go ahead. And that's the thing that I talk about a lot with our roommates too. Is like, if you want to be a pro-lifer or you want to be a Christian fundamentalist and you want to protest, you have every right to do that. I am not going to get mad at you for protesting that because it is your right as an American to protest what you believe in. Do I believe in what you believe in? No, but that is not my business. That is you protesting your freedom of speech. Everyone should have their freedom to protest and to fight for the rights that they believe in, regardless. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and the fact that I have to fully prepare to be arrested again. I got arrested during Black Lives Matter in Austin. The fact that I have to be worried.
Thank you for your service.
The fact that I have to be worried about that going to class because I want to save a national park. Our country.
What's
we're
so
cooked.
scary
It's
about it is
unacceptable. I'm so sorry you have to go through any of that.
what's so scary about it is how, I mean, it's intentional, but how vague all of these proclamations are. Like, illegal protest. Okay, what does that mean? You're not saying
Right.
You're not saying things like that are inciting violence. We get that. I mean, that's already illegal anyway. You're
Right.
not saying things that celebrate harm to people. Whatever. You're just saying illegal without any definition on that.
Right. What quantifies as an illegal protest? Because protesting is legal. Like,
Right.
being able to, at least currently, it is legal. God forbid the next month goes the way that things have been going. But there's no illegal protest. I mean, there's certain things that if you protest them, they're frowned upon, or, and again, inciting violence. And that, with the Black Lives Matter protests that happened with me, we took over the highway.
They don't
And
like
that is not why.
They like to get places.
So here's what they did. I don't get to talk about this much. So there was about 12 of us on the highway taking it over. We had a helicopter. It was right next to the police department precinct, and the helicopter flying over, and they said, if you get down now, we won't arrest you. And we said, okay, we'll comply. They then had police officers blocking the only entrance and exit to the highway, leading us two options, which were to stay and get arrested or jump a barrier that would have ultimately led to death or at least pretty bad injury. So we got arrested, but not until after we were pepper sprayed for not complying. And I fear that that is essentially what's going to happen with national park protests as well. These not complying situations with people that are, most of the people protesting are very kind, very soft-hearted humans that just care about animals, or they care about the environment. They're very peaceful. There was not a single incident with these national park protests that happened a couple weeks ago that were attacking, except for one, which was when a MAGA truck drove by and spit on protesters.
Sure, of course.
That is the closest thing to violence that happened at these protests. And surprise, surprise, it wasn't us that started it.
And it happened to them, not
Yeah,
what
of
started
course.
it. Yeah, exactly.
One
Right.
thing, and it might be a nice way to wrap up, is say that ends up of course, the news doesn't seem to be want to covering any of the national parks protests, but say there's protests and the cops come out and there's mace and like it becomes the classic protest scene that you see that makes the news. If people see that, the one thing the parks has for it, like when it comes to Black Lives Matter, that gets into politics, so obviously that's a divisive subject and people can toss it off or whatever. National parks, that's not a divisive subject. It's parks are nice. That's it.
Well,
so,
it's
like,
become a divisive subject.
Sure. Yeah,
They've
well, yeah.
created this narrative that national park lovers are liberals. That is
Right.
the new assumption is if you love national parks, you are a blue-haired, tattooed liberal. That is the new narrative. That is what they're going with, is if you don't care about taxpayer dollars, you are a liberal and you are weak. The other part is you are weak. So
I follow this choreographer, and she's phenomenal and she's hilarious, but she's also an actress, and she's in a sparkle paper towels. She's like the sparkle fairy. Anyway, she has like a whole blue wings, blue dress, blue outfit and stuff. I clicked on the comment because I was like, is anybody mentioning that this is like the viral dancing, sensation? No, they aren't, of course. But there's one guy, of course, and he has like a American flag on this thing, and he says, what was it? Something about, it was something to the effect of, I would never with that blue hair. And it's like, one, nobody's asking your opinion. Two, why? She's got blue hair that's obviously a wig. She's a fairy. Like, what? Why are you? It's so weird. It's such a weird mentality.
Yeah. And why are you offended by that? How is that offensive to you? How is it hurting you?
One of the things that I keep getting attacked online for, right? Because they're bored. They're boring, right? My weight. It's always my weight. If I post anything about a national park and how we should care about them, one of the comments is, "You're fat." And my response is always, how does that correlate? Like, give me an accurate reason why that correlates, and I'll take this down. One of my favorite things I'm doing right now is anytime people come at in the comments, and I recommend anybody to do this, if somebody's like, this is not true, this is a liberal lie, all I say, cite your sources. If you can prove to me that what I said was wrong, then I genuinely will take this down and say that it is wrong.
And they never do.
Yeah,
they never cite their they'll cite their sources, or they won't cite their sources, or the sources they cite are on Truth Social.
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
Well, that's what's so scary about the movement is that it's based on a lack of knowledge, because it's just lizard brain, right? Like it's just a loud bumper sticker, and that's my personality. So like it's how do you combat that when they're not literate in information? They just are 100% reactionary. I don't know.
Zelensky said it perfectly when he was talking to Trump, and he said, what did he say? He said,
this quote,
you were speaking louder.
It's great.
I want to say the exact quote.
It was even more like poetic than that. It was like your volume is increasing, but your logic isn't.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I want to find the exact.
It was something beautiful like that. And not enough people are talking about that, because he just said it in the middle of that, that while they were shouting at him, too.
And calmly, too. That was even the best part.
Not in a suit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, raising the volume of your voice, but not your logic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How concise and beautifully, and he's not even a native English speaker. Come on.
No.
That's what I think helped, though. He just got to the point,
Yeah.
like just being specific and to the point, and it's fact. It's true.
Yeah, and that's what's happening with all of his like cult following. Trump's cult following is they're being loud, but they're not being logical. I had a super pleasant, and I was blown away. I had a super pleasant conversation with a gentleman online, because I'm always willing to have a discussion with people if they're willing to not be aggressive. If they want to have an actual conversation, then I'm willing to talk. And this gentleman, he commented on a post about national parks, and he was like, screw you guys, liberal agenda, blah, blah, blah. And I said, can I ask why you're so mad? Yeah. And he said, well, I do cliff jumping for a recreational sport, and national parks don't allow cliff jumping in a majority of the parks, so I'm pissed. That's not fair. And I said, well, why do you think that they don't allow that? And he was like, well, because they said it's for safety, and because they don't have the people to like protect us if we get hurt. And I said, whoa, so they don't have park rangers there to help if one of you guys gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And you are upset that they are implementing that.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they implementing that? Because they don't have park rangers.
Yeah,
because
it's like,
they got rid of park rangers.
Then shouldn't you be encouraging them to hire more people to allow cliff jumping?
Exactly. Because, like, I feel you. If that's a recreation you enjoy, and that's, like, you shouldn't get that taken from you. I 100% agree with you there. But, like, in order to fight for the right to do that, you have to have park employees there. Like...
Right. Obviously.
It's just so narrow-minded. Like,
But he was so nice.
Yeah,
It was pleasant. I was very surprised. It's the first conversation I've had with somebody on the quote unquote opposing ends of things that I was like, no, I understand. Like, I understand why you're upset, but also I don't think that you are completely informed with what's actually happening. I think you get just the bare bones of what the media is portraying, and now you're like, oh, well, I can't clip jump anymore. It's like,
well, but that's
you're
the
blaming
issue
the wrong
is,
people.
yeah, that's the issue with their side and their arguments so often is like, it falls apart if you think about it for 15 seconds. Like the whole argument, the basis of the argument just does not stand up to muster, but they don't think about it for 15 seconds.
Yeah.
That's the issue. It's all reactionary.
It hurts my brain because there's things like groceries have not gone down in price, and I actively remember, this is just not like me reading news, like I actively remember family members and friends that were MAGA saying like, oh, our grocery prices are supposed to go immediately down as soon as he's in office. They skyrocketed. In Denton at the Kroger, you are limited to 2 dozen eggs right now. You cannot buy any more than 2 dozen eggs at a time.
Is that MILF Kroger or Rat Kroger? Or Murder Kroger?
MILF Kroger. Not Murder Kroger, MILF Kroger. But now I'm looking at the same people, and instead of saying, oh, we were wrong, they're going, y'all are not giving him enough time.
Yeah.
You just have to give him some
now
time.
Suddenly the argument's nuanced, and it's a complicated
Let him
situation.
cook. Mm-hmm. And it's like, when will you finally realize that he lied to you?
Yeah. I don't think
because,
they can.
Like, I'm also the kind of person that I've seen a lot of people online that voted for Trump this past election that are coming out saying like, I'm so sorry.
I've seen the same thing.
That.
Just the other day, I was sharing it with the rest of the Ripple team. There's a whole group, and then someone was like a beautifully written response, and it was like, listen, I'm not attacking the people that are still in the movement. This is just a resource for those of us who, and here's my experience. And yet, they were still getting attacked for not following the party line.
And that's what's hurting. Something that's happening within the people trying to protect parks and protect women and protect the LGBTQ plus that I've had to come at them is like, I forgive. It is upsetting that they voted. I wish that they had been more educated when they made that vote. Like, there's a lot of things that go into that, and like, but this narrative, when these people come out and apologize and say like, I messed up, I'm trying to rectify that, I'm trying to fix the problem. Like, there's people coming out saying, well, it's too late. You screwed up. Your fault. You can't fix this. And it's like, hold on. I get you're angry. We are all so angry. But these people, at least this group, are genuinely trying to figure out how they can help fix things. And there is strength in numbers. We need as many people as humanly possible to fix this, even if they're people that caused the problem. If they're willing to rectify and they're willing to change and do better, like genuinely willing to change and do better, I think you should allow them to come to these protests, to be part of the movement, and move forward, because you can't go back. Like, these people wish they could go back and unvote. Of course they do. And it sucks. But, like, they're trying. And that's something that I'm having a really hard time with, too, is, like, trying to tell people, like, you can be mad at them. You have every right to be mad at them, but let them try. Let them try. You know? And maybe that's just me. I don't know.
I think that's a beautiful
No,
sentiment.
I commend you for your patience too.
I don't know if I have that patience, but
I know, I try.
At the end of the day, you're right, but
I'm still mad at them.
No, of course.
Well, you can have boundaries for yourself and say, I'm not good with you because of your choices and how they have affected not only me, but my loved ones and other people, strangers, etc., etc.
Right.
But we do need you. We will accept you if you're willing to genuinely change to help the cause, which affects all of us. And we do need numbers, whether we like it or not.
I will provide resources.
Yeah, exactly. Like that saying, it's not exactly for this, but just the idea, concept behind it. Like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Because we want to be the stronger. That's a strategy. That is a chess game. Like, that is what we are in. We need your numbers.
Well, and also,
only if you're actually going to be real about it. Though.
Right.
Yeah.
It's tricky because most of the people that voted for Trump, and this is true in both sections, or both terms, is they're just not politically savvy people. They have only ever voted for Trump. So if you're only in that ecosystem, it's so easy to be misled. And once so like, of course they didn't have their, even though there was so much information in reality, they simply do not live in reality. So it's like, you just can't, it's hard to blame them when they, if they've been confronted, well, even then they can be like, oh, well, the liberals are all fake news until it, but that's the issue also is, with the MAGA movement and with people on that side, so often they only see what's directly in front of them. So like if they only care about an issue if it's directly affecting them, which is why so many back in the day when gay marriage was getting legalized, the only Republicans that would come out for it were ones that, oh, well, my sister's gay, so, or my, whatever. It's like, it only is because, whereas that's the thing with being liberal and being progressive is like, oh, we can understand other people's perspectives without having to experience it ourselves. Amazing, the human concept.
Well, I think the other thing too, and like my parents are an example. My parents didn't vote because my dad's a felon, but they were Trump supporters, and they are in an echo chamber.
Right.
They only see, and they are not well educated when it comes to politics. So what they saw was, there's a man saying that my groceries are going to be cheaper. There's a man saying my housing is going to be cheaper. There's a man saying that I'm going to have more opportunity to work. Like, promising these, like, if you don't have any other knowledge of Trump and all you hear is that this man is going to make my grocery bill lower, my prices lower, my quality of life better, then of course you're going to be like, oh yeah, like, okay. But that's all at face value.
Yeah, it's all
most people, once they got to that point, they didn't go research how or why or when he was going to do any of that. They just saw that and went, yeah, that sounds good. Of course that sounds good. I could sit here and say that I'm going to give everybody a new puppy and a car, and if you go look at my bank account, you'll see that's not going to happen.
Right.
But if you don't look at my bank account, like, yeah, of course you're going to go, oh yeah, I want a puppy and a car. Like, and I think that's what happened for a lot of people is they were like, oh my gosh, like, groceries have been really hard. Like, this has been really hard, and this is going to fix things, and it just didn't.
Well, and of course, he doesn't say the reasons. He blames the Democrats. That's what he blames Joe Biden. He doesn't go into
for everything, including plane crashes.
Yeah, even though he had, come on.
Anyway. Okay, well, Stevie, we so appreciate learning from you.
Oh my God, thank you.
You are a gem and a scholar, and
Thanks.
This has been amazing. I'm gonna post. I always post the VODs on YouTube, so people have access to this later.
Awesome.
I gotta actually write this film. I usually do that on stream as well, so I'll probably maybe do that in an upcoming Wednesday, if not the next one. We try to film these as quickly as possible because it's always based on what's happening right now.
Right.
In fact, we were saying the other day, we probably, just because we could look at Project 2025 and see what the upcoming agenda is going to be, and then just film a bunch of stuff and just like stack a bunch of films just in case, because it's always going to be something, then we can just drop it. But for now, we're doing it ripped from the headlines, that kind of stuff. So we so appreciate you, everything that you're doing for us, but also out in the world, obviously. And thank you for all the work that you're doing and posing those questions. Those were some beautiful answers. If you don't mind sending me those, that'd be
yeah, no problem. I can definitely. And if I get anything else from the group, again, for you guys and if anybody, like for anybody watching this, I recommend on Instagram, Resistance Rangers is a very, very big one. Very, very big one.
Very cool.
And then Parks Over Profit. is another one. And then mine is rooted in conservation, and we just keep up to date with everything that's going on as it happens. So you'll know exactly what's going on. No opinionated side, one or the other, just this executive order happened.
Is that
This
Instagram?
happened.
Is it TikTok?
Instagram, yeah. Instagram and TikTok. There is TikTok too.
Okay. Okay.
So
That's great.
highly recommend Resistant Rangers, though. They're the big ones. So
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, please keep us posted, and please always feel free to come back at any time.
Yes, please. We'd
love to have
great.
you again. We'd love to have anybody else.
Wealth of
come across
knowledge.
people like, oh, we'd love to come too. You know, like just
Yeah.
the
Heck yeah.
more the merrier, and the more we can document and get information out to others is extremely important to every one of us. So
absolutely.
Thank you.
And thank y'all for having me. Thank y'all for making the film. I am excited
course.
to see it and
Yeah,
excited.
we'll see.
Yes.
We'll see how it comes
Yes.
out. Hopefully, it'll be cool. You never know, but hopefully, it'll be cool.
Right.
We're off to a good start, thanks to you, Stevie.
Absolutely.
All right.
Happy to help.
Hopefully, this outro will work. We will find out.
Every day, master, I don't think it happy enough. And us do is recognize the times. We will shape and mold this country, or it will not be molded and shaped at all anymore.